Most of you who watch the channel know that the Neo Geo holds a special place in gaming. One of the more iconic images that represent this system and its games is the memory of its multi-game machines throughout maybe the last great decade of arcades. The red, yellow, green, and blue buttons resting on top of a striped control panel, the lighted mini marquees and crisp audio that blasted from front-facing speakers. This was SNK's definitive eye-catching cabinet that housed their now classic franchises throughout the 90s. This is the Big Red. But SNK wouldn't be the only company to make a gargantuan-sized statement in arcades during this time period. They would eventually have some primary color competition to contend with out on game room floors. Big Red, say hello to Capcom's Big Blue. Oh man, where do we even start with this? Aside from the obvious being it's cool as hell, why did I want this? I kind of alluded in the intro that this is Capcom's yin to SNK's yang. These are the cabinets that house maybe the top fighting franchises of all time. And these are the cabinets that you played those games on, and so 20 plus years later, to put them together in the same room and have them run simultaneously, once again, instantly creates an electric atmosphere. Beyond emotions though, I really wanted the Big Blue to be the final home for my Capcom hardware. I plan on using it with my Champion Edition board, my CPS2 Multi, and of course, the CPS3 board. I'm going to go ahead and get this guy unwrapped so we can really take a first look at it here. But I have to tell you, it's been a while since I've seen one in person, and I had kind of forgotten just how big these things are. This cabinet has more than earned its nickname. Now the first thing I notice is there is something odd going on with the power supply. It has a cord that clearly isn't attached to the main unit, but running into the side, and that makes me a little nervous, so I don't want to just plug this in willy-nilly. I want to see what's going on inside. I'm wondering if there are keys for this, so I open the coin box door, and nope, no keys hanging where they normally would be, but that's okay. The coin door doesn't have a lock, and neither does the coin box door. In fact, the coin box itself is missing, and that's another place where you might have found the keys, so maybe I'm missing something here altogether. So on the back main panel we have two screws holding it in place. The locking mechanism in the center is missing, so I'm thinking I can simply take these two screws out and then use a tool to pry the panel off. Piece of cake. And finally, here are the insides of Big Blue. So it looks like the original power supply died and was replaced with a Suzo hat. I mean, why bother removing the old power supply though, right? Man, that just seems lazy to me to leave that in here as dead weight, so that's definitely going to go. The power cord for the Suzo hat is interesting, but hopefully serviceable. As you might expect, there are layers of dust and grime that need cleaned out. The Capcom manual is laying here, which is cool. Also a pencil and some random screws and change. Out of order. Boy, let's hope not. And what would a ScarletSprites cabinet be without dead animals inside? I'll take insects over rodents any day though. Here's the unit's CPS2 board, an X-Men vs Street Fighter as you probably have already seen on the marquee. This will be a super easy one-to-one swap with the Darksoft board that I already have, and then it will run not only X-Men vs Street Fighter, but every CPS2 game. So far, I think I'm most impressed with the heavy-duty audio cables coming out of the board and heading into that Capcom branded audio amp. It may be hard to see, but that amp then runs right up to the two speakers resting above. So all in all here, this needs clean, which I'm no stranger to with cabinets. Probably a quick vacuum, then wipe down will be all it's needed after getting the original power supply pulled out. And once that's done, I'll load up the Darksoft CPS2 Multi. And now that I feel relatively safe about the power supply, I'm going to go ahead and plug this in and see it boot up for the very first time. Looks really good, monitor is up and the game is running, and we have that nice giant marquee lit up like the bat signal here in the basement. One of the things I usually do with the marquees is swap the CFL bulbs for LED. You can tell that this has a warmer color to it, and you can certainly get LEDs that will replicate that look, but I prefer the bluer light, and I think that that makes the colors on the marquee look a little bit more accurate than they normally would. Coming down to the bottom front, I noticed that the coin door lights are burned out, which is very common. I do have LED replacements for these stored away in Big Red's coin box. This video is really just a first look, but this simple fix will satisfy my OCD for now. That is, if I can put the bulbs in the correct way. And there we go. These are nice and bright, and they're not going to burn out on me anytime soon. For not being dialed in, the monitor looks pretty good overall. Nothing terrible going on here that would cause me to worry. It does need some color adjustment and maybe some horizontal stretching of the image, but that can all be done on the control board, which I saw hanging when I had the coin door open. I'll probably have to grab that and mount it inside the control panel for easier access. Speaking of the control panel, you know I had to try a quick game here after booting this up, and that might be the most glaring issue with the cabinet thus far, and I'll take that. I'll take that any day on a cabinet like this. The joystick isn't really registering upright movement, and even some of the other directions feel very hit or miss. I will likely need to drop new sticks into this, and that's okay. I believe I actually have 2 black HAP competition sticks that are brand new. And while those aren't quite the same caliber as the IL Euro sticks, they aren't terribly far off, and they are also free in my case. A lot of the push buttons stick as well, so these will all be pulled, cleaned, or replaced at some point. The last thing you want is a sweet machine like this to have crappy controls, and swapping sticks and buttons is a relatively cheap fix. I noticed the latches for the control panel when I had the coin door open and was looking inside. Unbuckling both of those will allow you to flip this whole thing forward and will grant access to wiring so you can replace your sticks and buttons. I also want to mount that monitor control board inside here, and I will probably place the LCD controller for the Darksoft kit on the opposite side so it's really easy to change out games. Last thing to note about Big Blue for this video is just how awesome the front-facing speakers are with Q Sound. I know it sounds cliche, but playing CPS2 on this cab and hearing the audio blast through in stereo is almost like hearing these games for the first time. And that is it for the first look at the Capcom Big Blue. And this thing will require some very modest cleaning and updating. It's nowhere near the monster project Virtua Racing was, and for that I am extremely thankful. I'm considering swapping out the marquee and bezel for Champion Edition materials from Sabo's Arcades. I just haven't committed fully in my mind if that's the theme that I want to go for yet. I'm a little torn. Let me know your thoughts on what marquee I should ultimately have in this. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you all next time. Later, guys.